Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Shmaila from LS IELTS. Today I would like to talk about true false not given, how to solve it. Actually, true false not given is the most difficult part in IELTS academic as well as IELTS journal training. So there are some tips and tricks to solve true false not given easily. First, let's get started. First of all, we need to read the main heading. Main heading is why we need to protect polar bears. So all the information in the paragraph is about to protect the polar bears, why we need to protect polar bears, how we need to protect polar bears. So firstly, we read the statement. True means if the statement totally agree with the information that is given in the paragraph and in the question, then it would be true. False means if the statement contradict, if the statement opposite, if the statement disagree with the information that is given in the paragraph, then it would be false. Not given is a bit more difficult instead of true false. Because sometimes in not given question, some part of the question is given in the paragraph and some part of the question is missed and some part of the question is opposite, so it would become a bit more tricky. So here there are some tips and tricks. Let's get started. Firstly, we need to read the question and underline the keywords. First question is, polar bears suffer from various health problems. Various health problems. We underline the keywords health problems, various health problems due to build up of fat, underline this, under their skin. Now with the help of these keywords, we find the information in this paragraph, in the first paragraph, because with the help of keywords we find the information very quickly. So we adopt the scanning and skimming technique. We find the word fat in the first paragraph because true false not given is in the order. So we start from the first line. We find the health problems. We find the word health problems, skin and build up of fat. We find the word fat here. So we start from here. They are uniquely adapted to the extreme condition of Arctic Circle where temperature can reach 40 degrees. One reason for this is that they have up to 11 centimeter of fat under their skin. We find the word skin, fat. Humans with comparative levels of adipose tissue would be considered obese and would be likely to suffer from diabetes and heart disease. This line means if the human have fat under their skin, then it would be considered obese and they are suffer from various health ailments and various health related problems. Yet the polar bear experience no such consequences. If the polar bears have fat, they know this line means if the polar bear have fat, they would not suffer from various health related problem, because here this line tells us about the human. If human have fat under their skin, and they would be considered obese and suffer from various health related problems. But the polar bears experience no such consequences. It's mean this statement is contradict with this statement. So the answer would be false. We write the false spelling FALSE false, because if we write the F only, it would be considered false and they would not be given marks. So we read the next question number 2, and we also underline the keyword. The study done by Lee and his colleague. If we find name in any question, then it would be easy to become to locate the answer in the paragraph. So if the study done by Lee and his colleague compared different groups of polar bears. Underline the keywords. The study done by Lee and his colleague. Now we find the word Lee and his colleague. In the second paragraph, the first line are 2014 study by C. Pinkley and colleagues shed light on this mystery. They compared. We find the word compared. Sometimes we find synonyms in the information which is given in the paragraph, and but here the word compared is given here. The genetic structure of polar bears with that of their closest relatives from a warmer climate, the brown bears. Here the question is compared the different groups of polar bears, but the information that is given in this statement is called that they compare the genetic structure of polar bears with that of their closest relatives, their closest group from a warmer climates. Different groups of polar bears and closest relatives with that of their closest relatives mean not different groups, so the answer would be false. We write false here. Now we read the third question and underline the keywords. Firstly, Lee and colleagues were the first researcher. We underline the keyword first researcher to compare polar bears and brown bears genetically. Mean Lee and colleagues were the first researcher, were the first man who compared the polar bears and brown bears genetically. We read it from here. This allowed them to determine. We find the word first researcher with the help of skimming and scanning techniques. But we could not find the first researcher. So there is not any kind of information about the Lee and his colleague, whether they are first researcher or they are second researcher, or the study have been done before their research. So there is not any kind of information because we could not find the word first researcher and the first researcher related information in this paragraph. So the answer would be not given. There is not any kind of information in this paragraph. First researcher means there is not any kind of information in this paragraph, so it would be totally not given. Now we read the fourth question and underline the keywords. Fourth question is polar bears are able to control their levels of bad cholesterol by genetic means. This means that polar bears have the ability to control their levels of bad cholesterol by genetic means. We read the information. We find the word bad cholesterol because this is the same word that we find in the information. So we find the word bad cholesterol here. Now we read this from here. Lee and his colleague found the polar bears had a gene known as APOP. Polar bear had a gene known as APO. There are by genetic means. Genetic means they have a gene which is called APOP, which reduce levels of low density lipoproteins, a form of bad cholesterol. Means they are able to control their levels of bad cholesterol with the help of a gene which is called APOP. Now the answer would be true because this information is a match with this information. So the answer would be true. Now we read the fifth question. Fifth question is female polar bears. Female polar bears. Now we word underline the word female polar bears are able to survive for about 6 months. 6 months. They are able to survive for 6 months without food. Now with the help of these keywords we find the information in this paragraph. Polar bears, we find the word female by using the technique of skimming and scanning. Female polar bears, we find the word female polar bears here. Female polar bears, however, undergo extreme condition during every pregnancy. Once a autumn comes around, the females will dig maternity tents in the snow and will remain there throughout the winter. These lines mean during pregnancy days, they dig maternity tents in the snow, and throughout the winter they remain here, but both before and after the birth of their cubes. This process results in about 6 months of fasting. Fasting means no food. Here they use the word fasting instead of without food. So without food is the synonym of fasting. This process results in about 6 months. We find the word 6 months. Here we find the word about 6 months without food. So the information is totally matched with the information that is given in the question. So the answer would be true. Now we read the sixth question. Sixth question is, it was found that the bones of female polar bears were very weak when they came out of their tents in spring. After 6 months of fasting, when they came out from their tents and found that their bones will become very weak. So we find the word bones. We find the word bones here. So where the female we read from here. This process results in about 6 months of fasting, where the female bears have to keep themselves and their cubes alive, depleting their own calcium with the help of their own calcium and calories reserve. With the help of their own calcium and calories, they protect their cubes. Despite this, instead of their bones remain strong and dense. Here they use the word very weak. Here they use the word strong, which is opposite to the weak. The bones of female polar bears, their bones remain strong and dense. Bears are very weak when they came out of their tents in spring. So the information is contradict with this information. So the answer would be false. Now the last question is the polar bear's mechanism. The polar bear's mechanism for increasing bone density could also be used by people one day. Now we find the word mechanism. By using the technique of skimming and scanning, in this way we save a lot of time. Here we find the word mechanism. Here we find the word mechanism of bone remodeling in polar bears. Of bone remodeling mean bone increasing density in polar bears can be understood. Many bedridden humans, bedridden mean people who are unable to walk, who cannot move and always stay in and bed, and they are unable to move or walk. And even astronauts, you know that astronaut also people could potentially benefit. They could potentially benefit. So we find the word bedridden, astronauts, and could potentially benefit. Could potentially benefit means that they were benefited one day in the near future. So the polar bear mechanism, if the mechanism of bone remodeling in polar bears, okay, for increasing bone density, be understood by pupil. Density could also be used by pupil one day. So there are chances, could potentially mean there are chances that it can be used for human in the future. So the answer would be true. In this way we solve the true false not given questions very quickly, and by saving a lot of time. You can also use this technique. I hope you will like my video. If you like my video, please subscribe my channel and share with friends. Allah Hafiz.